talk about the King then and his work ethic. Royal commentator and former press secretary for Queen Elizabeth II, Dickie Arbiter, joins me in the studio. Dickie, a pleasure, as always, to see you.
Thank you, Rosanna.
Look, I know you've been very busy the last 24 hours, certainly.
Does it show?
Absolutely not. I wouldn't describe you as looking tired in grey, like King Charles. But certainly there is work ethic there, and that's what we want to talk to you about. King Charles, what is your assessment of his work ethic?
He has worked, well, his wife calls him a workaholic, and he is a workaholic. He, as Harry said in his book, he's been known to fall asleep at his desk. He, as Prince of Wales, he was patron of a number of organisations. He was a hands-on patron or president, which meant that a lot of paperwork came across him. His private secretaries who dealt with the various charities passed on paperwork, he read it, he ticked the box, or he crossed out things that he didn't agree with. And he would work late into the night, often skipping, having something to eat, and maybe snacking later on in the evening. And quite often he would fall asleep at his desk. And nothing really has changed now he's become king. Slightly different that he doesn't get all the charity boxes, but he certainly does get all the state papers. Now, the late Queen used to get about 2 boxes a day. My guess is he gets 1 and probably even 2 boxes a day, and he will go through each of those boxes, each of those state papers meticulously. He won't miss a thing. He doesn't scan documents. He reads word for word, and he will make notes. He will sign where his signature is necessary, but he won't let up. He is relentless when it comes to those state papers. In hospital, when he had his prostate op, he was working on his state papers. He won't let up. He is a constitutional monarch, and that's his job. And
you mentioned the late Queen Elizabeth II there, who obviously you worked with and for. She was famous for her work ethic. It was something she was celebrated for. Right into the later part of her life. Do you think that applies some pressure to Charles to fill his mother's shoes?
I don't think it applies pressure to the king to fill his mother's shoes. He's filling them admirably, but he was a very... People used to say to me years ago, well, when he becomes king, will he be a good king? Well, he was a jolly good Prince of Wales, and he's a jolly good king. He's just segued from one role into another. The man is the same. The work ethic is the same. Nothing has changed. The quantity of work, the type of work has changed because it's all constitution, it's all state papers, but nothing else has changed. He is still the man.
Now, I am all too aware when we have these types of conversation that not all of our viewers, even here on TalkTV, and not everyone in this country is a monarchist. Not everyone is pro-royal. Some people will listen to this conversation and say, yeah, but how much work are they doing really? 500 and odd, events a year. Most people will, be working in factories or doing, anything else like that. What's your response?
Yeah, let me come in here because you said in your introduction that he has meetings behind palace walls. He has a Privy Council, which does get mentioned in the court circular. He does his boxes every day. Those boxes are done every day of the year except Easter Day, which is the Sunday, and Christmas Day. So he does them for 63 days of the year. So he is working. He might not be seen on the road, but he is working. He's having meetings in Buckingham Palace. Often they don't get mentioned in the court circular, but they do happen. So don't judge the man on what he does out in public. 516 engagements. For a 70-year-old, that's a lot of engagements. And anybody will attest to that. Don't judge him by that. Judge him by that, perhaps, and what he does behind the scenes, because he does do a lot. And he did a lot as the Prince of Wales. He might not have been seen on the road all the time as the Prince of Wales, but he was working in the background with his organisations.
And you mentioned there that the only days he doesn't do the paperwork, Christmas Day and Easter Day, well, of course, visibly in church and performing for the cameras on those days, as we know. Let's talk then about the other behind-the-scenes work that's going on, what Queen Camilla is doing and what Prince William will be doing to help kind of pick up anything to help the King right now. What might that be?
Well, firstly, we don't know what engagements were already in the pipeline for the King. What happens is that at the beginning of autumn previous year, they look ahead to the first 6 months of the following year and sort of plot in engagements. Some are confirmed, some are not confirmed. In the event of that one falls away, another one can be picked up. So it's conceivable that William might pick up some engagements. He's back at work tomorrow doing an investiture at Windsor. He's doing a charity dinner for London Ambulance Service, which he's patron, tomorrow night. Not forgetting he was an ambulance helicopter pilot for 2.5 years. So he is starting to work. There's a limit to what he can do because he's got his own work to do, but there are certain things that he might well have to do, because what we're looking at is, okay, we're only the 6th of February. We don't know when the king is going to be back in public. So there are things coming up at the end of March. There's Easter. There's Maundy on the eve of Good Friday. If the king can't do that, will William do that? Big question mark. There is on the 11th of March, there is, and I'm going backwards now, there is the Commonwealth Day service at Westminster Abbey. The king is head of state, head of nation, head of the Commonwealth. If he can't do that, will William do that? Well, if you wind the clock back even further, for 2 years before the late Queen passed, the king did those as the Prince of Wales. So he was the filler man, like the king, when he was Prince of Wales, would always represent the Queen at funerals as head of state. That's the job of William now as Prince of Wales. So it's conceivable that certain set pieces that William could well jump in, but we are only on the 6th of February. Let's take it on a little bit further and see how the king responds to treatment and see how and when he edges his way back into public engagements.
Goodness, it really serves as a reminder of just how many events are in the diary, the public diary and the royal diary, and of course sickness doesn't follow calendar dates. Look, Dickie Arbiter, thanks so much for joining us this evening.
Thank you.